Hey everybody, Yankee here. I want to take a few minutes today to talk about something called the Charleston loophole. There's been a lot of talk about that lately, especially in Oregon, where it's part of a new anti-gun law they passed, and they're trying to get that part of the law to actually go into effect, even though the rest of the law is blocked. And I want to take some time to talk about it because I got an email from a viewer the other day with a question in it that says, why don't we just give them the whole closing the Charleston loophole thing? Why don't we give that to the left? It seems like it's something that isn't going to hurt us. We can all agree that everyone should have to actually have a background check to buy a gun. So why don't we let them have that one as a token of good faith? And also, I had to explain this to someone last night also, so it's fresh on my mind, so I thought I would address it today. For those of you that don't know, the Charleston loophole is where if you buy a gun and you fill out your 4473 and you send it in, after 72 hours, if they have not taken action on your background check, a dealer can legally give you the gun. And there's nothing the ATF can do about it. That's just the law. And here's the thing. That is not a loophole. There is no such thing as the Charleston loophole. So no, we should not give them the whole closing the Charleston loophole thing. For one, I don't agree that everyone should have to go through a background check to buy a gun. I think it's just an infringement that doesn't really stop any crime. Bad guys get guns, and usually people who commit the biggest atrocities with guns had no criminal record up until then and legally obtained their guns. So there's no proof whatsoever that background checks stop crime or violence. So I don't agree with that at all. To agree with that would mean that I admit that there's proof that it stops violence, and there isn't. So I will not agree that they should have to go through background checks to get guns. Also, like I said, the Charleston loophole is not a thing. That's just a made-up term by the far left and the anti-gunners to try to rile stupid people into action. Because it doesn't exist. It's not a loophole. The law that's in place that states that if the government hasn't taken action after 72 hours, then they default on their right to background check you, I guess was the way I would put that there, and you can actually receive your gun from an FFL. That isn't a loophole. It was put there intentionally as a protection from government infringement on your Second Amendment rights. Because if that isn't there, anytime the government said, hey, let's slow down people getting guns, or let's cripple the gun retailers, we're going to take a holiday. We're going to go on vacation for 2 weeks, a government holiday for government employees that do background checks, and we're not going to clear any background checks for 2 weeks. Well, that would put a lot of retailers out of business. And it would infringe on your rights to buy a gun. That's why they only have 72 hours to do it. And if they don't do it for one reason or another, you can have your firearm. That is to prevent them from denying people their rights simply through inaction, just sitting on their hands. If that limit wasn't there, all they'd have to do is like, oh, we're really backed up. We're months behind. So, no new ones for the next few months. And they, like I said, they would cripple the firearms industry. They would really infringe upon your rights to own guns, etc. And any person that they thought was, hey, let's put them on a list, and anytime a background check comes in for them, let's sit on it and not do it so they can't get their gun. And if they want to go and complain and file a case against the government, let them, but we won't think they will, and they won't be successful because there's no law that says we have to do it in any timely manner. That's why that law that says you have to do it in a timely manner is there. To prevent government abuse of the system and to prevent the government from overreaching and overstepping their bounds and preventing law-abiding citizens from obtaining firearms and exercising their Second Amendment rights. Does that sound like a loophole? It's not a loophole. Like I said, the whole Charleston loophole thing is a made-up term that a bunch of Bloomberg disciples sat around in a boardroom and said, we got to think of something to call this protection that makes it seem like it's a bad thing so that we can get stupid people to rally behind our idea that we need to get rid of it. There is no Charleston loophole. That is not a thing. It's just like the gun show loophole, which is just basically people have a right to sell their property privately without government intervention. So there is no Charleston loophole. We definitely shouldn't be giving it to them because it's not a loophole. Like I said, it is the law, and that law is there as a protection for me, you, for retailers, etc., to keep the government a corrupt government who at any time, if that law wasn't there, could just shut down the gun industry. It's to prevent that from happening. So we need to start letting people know that no, we do not support this, and no, it is not a loophole. This is a grab for power by the government to where they, like I said, could shut down the gun industry, shut down retailers, and remove your right to purchase a firearm anytime they wanted to, just by sitting on their hands and being incompetent.